Hey, what's going on, everyone? Back with another knife overview. Today we're going to be looking at the Microtech Anax, which I believe is how you pronounce it. I'm going to keep it a buck with you. I have no clue how to pronounce it. Looks like Anax. Heard it's Anax. Not sure. This is going to be another Microtech collaboration with Reich Knife. So similarly to the SOCOM Delta, SOCOM Bravo, excuse me. I used to have a SOCOM Delta. SOCOM Bravo, which is also made by Reich Knife. We'll make a few comparisons. This is kind of the same deal. So another design that was made in collaboration. This is the box that it comes with. It's actually the same as the one that the SOCOM Bravo came with. So you got the claw and then this kind of, dragging around the outside to represent Reich, I'm assuming. Inside, and I think that it's really cool. So great information packet in here as far as like instructions go. I like how they kind of show you how to use the front flipper, as well as how to close it. I thought that was kind of funny. Microtech, certainly they have a really great warranty, so even if you do sharpen or disassemble this, it won't automatically void the warranty. The only thing that will void the warranty is if the function of the knife is altered. So I think that that's really cool, and you can kind of breathe a sigh of relief there, with that warranty. Very impressive Microtech. Also, interestingly enough, in this box, so one of my biggest gripes of Microtech over the ages was just the fact that they use proprietary hardware on everything. And fear no more, if you buy this this Anax, they actually give you the drivers for it, which I think is so cool. Like Microtech, I'm so proud of you. Like, I can't tell you how many hours I've spent on eBay looking for drivers just so I didn't have to buy the $125 version that Microtech used to be selling. Like, I think that's awesome, and it's right up there with Chris Reeve, but even to another level. Like, Chris Reeve, including the Allen keys, it's kind of like, okay, how many Allen keys do you need? Like, anyone that buys Chris Reeve is going to have an Allen key, but I think that is so cool that they included that in here, that they encourage you to take it apart. I did end up taking this one apart yesterday just because, well, we'll get into it in a minute. I don't want to spoil the surprise. The other thing that it comes with are these very interesting lanyards, which, again, not being a lanyard guy, I don't know who runs these lanyards, but certainly it's like braided steel cable. You have, like, you can choose from a ball or this super pointy thing, so I guess, like, depending on what mood you're in, you can kind of switch it out. This actually threads into the back of the knife, and then it has a little O-ring here, rubber O-ring to capture it. When it's in, and I'll see if I can post it right here, because I did put one of these in just for fun. It's just kind of awkward. Like, it sticks out a lot, and I thought it was funny they actually give you the size of this knife with, oh man, I have to move this over here, with that little, like, tether in there. I don't know. That's one of the question marks for this knife, but it is what it is. I think it's cool that they give you options, but I can't say enough good things. Like, I mean, this is where the money's made right here, is the fact that they included the drivers in with this knife. So with that, we're going to jump into a little bit of the background of this knife and the specs. So a common theme you're going to see here, so the Microtech Anax, again, it's going to take me a while to get that name right because it doesn't come naturally to me. So it was originally released in 2014 as a Marfione custom, and believe you me, back in the day, and even today for those customs, people paid dearly for them. I mean, well over $1,000, and like, people are probably pretty salty about this knife because, by all accounts, all the research I've done, and just, I mean, on looks alone, I mean, Google search what the old Anax looked like, this thing blows it away, and that must be so frustrating to, you kind of, back in 2014 when this was released as a custom, you spent a ton of money on it, and then, Wright kind of stepped in and made it better. Like, that must, I mean, like, there's no escaping it. If I was in that camp, my feelings would definitely be hurt. And this design, which it's very unique, so it is inspired by the body of an emperor dragonfly, and I'm kind of ashamed to admit it, but I knew that Microtech had something that was called a Dragonfly, which again is a Bali song. But I was looking up, like, because I want to make the comparison. I want to be like, how close is this to the old Microtech Emperor Dragonfly? It's not a knife, guys. It's literally the Dragonfly. So once I came to that, I wanted to share it with you, but I was kind of embarrassed as hell. I was like, okay, I can kind of see it then. Okay. It's an insect, guys. So yeah, with that, we're gonna get into a couple of comparisons. So this is the Anax as compared to the SOCOM Bravo. Looks like that. I really do like how this has kind of the same color pivot collars. You get the same quality of carbon fiber there. This is a cool comparison, and I think like having these two, which hopefully they don't come out with another one because then I'm gonna have to get it, obviously. But you know, a little bit different. They did use proprietary screws on the Anax. They did not use proprietary screws, nor did they provide drivers on the SOCOM Bravo. So definitely same but different, right? So, but I mean, they certainly look like they came from the same factory, same, you know, general design or themes, I should say. So there it is compared to that. Also picked up a Spyderco Shaman, so that's how it compares to that. You know, certainly both are very wide blade knives. The handle size is pretty even, but you know, even in why I picked the Shaman to do this, so realizing that the blade, you know, height is kind of the same, the handle size is where this differs. And a lot of the critiques that I see with the Anax was the handle thickness, which again, they're trying to copy what an insect looks like, so it's going to be a little bit thinner. You know, obviously this one, the Shaman, has a little bit more of a comfortable handle, but we'll get into it in a little bit. But I was surprised at how comfortable the Anax was. The last comparison we're going to do, just because I just got it today and I'm super excited, this is it compared to a Strider PT, which ended up picking up this one for a really good price. It's kind of a silly comparison, but you know, now I have the PT, SNG, SMF. So this was a, you know, a necessity in my eyes. So you have to ask my wife. She probably has a different thought on that. But so with that, we're gonna get into yeah, kind of the specs on this knife, and I'll give my initial impressions. All right, the details on this knife. So it features a 3.69 inch blade. It's going to be 8.58 inches overall. The closed length is 4.875 inches. The blade steel is going to be Bowler M390 in this really nice drop point. It weighs 5 ounces, and the interesting thing about that is the custom version actually weighs 3.8 ounces. So I thought that was kind of interesting. I don't know where they kind of made up the weight for this one, but this one is substantially heavier than the custom by all accounts. The MSRP on this is kind of tricky. So going to Microtech's site, it says $450, but if you go to eknives.com, which has these in stock right now, it is selling for a very stout $645, which is crazy to me. As far as the action goes, so under the pivot you have 32 silicon nitride ball bearings, and then I'll post a picture right here of what those bearings actually look like in the pivot. As far as carry options go, this is going to be right hand tip up only, and one of the most fascinating things about this knife, which I have not seen covered in any other video, is this pocket clip. At the end of this pocket clip, you have like, I mean, it's just like a black, like, you know, ball for all intents and purposes. And I can confirm that this black ball actually does freely spin on the pocket clip, which it's actually kind of fidgety if you kind of play with it. But this is also a silicon nitride ball bearing, which is one of the carryovers from the original custom. But I think that that's really cool. Like the very small ball bearings, they actually use the same material to, you know, kind of put at the end of the pocket clip so it rolls over your pants to get in your pocket, and then it sits very securely. Actually, the one thing I did notice though is if you do kind of fidget with this a little bit and spin the ball around, it actually leaves like some sort of like graphite material on your finger. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but again, very unique. I haven't seen any other company that actually uses kind of this, literally a ball bearing on there that's silicone nitride. That's pretty cool that they put that on there to, you know, get it in and out of your pocket. So with that, we're gonna get into my observations, and then we will wrap this up. All right, the first interesting thing I found out about the Anax, which it kind of it prompted me yesterday to take it apart. And while I'm talking, I'll post a few pictures wherever's clever. But this is actually going to be a one-piece design, so it's all integral. There isn't like, you know, half and half smushed together, whatever. This is going to be one piece that comes apart, and I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of like how hard it was to put this thing back together. I mean, certainly like you can, you know, you work, so this side actually is keyed, you turn it over, unscrew this, pull it out, you can pull the blade out, and then there's the bearings, which are caged, which is awesome. And then there's a washer on top of that, but it was kind of a pain in the butt to snake it back in here. So just kind of keep that in mind. Like it's not as easy, but I do like it. I mean, it certainly looks really, really sleek. I don't know if this is billet or cut out of, you know, one piece of titanium, but I thought that was really cool and kind of unique for this knife, which I mean, getting this thing, I had no clue that was the case. But as you can see, it is going to be a one-piece handle. You got to kind of like sandwich things together, put them back in there. Definitely a pretty unique design. Yeah, what are we to get into next? I think, like, I mean, looking at this version as compared to the custom, and again, I'm not coming from a place that has a custom. I would love to compare this side by side to a custom, but I kind of already know what the score is. Like, I think, like, besides the rarity of the custom, from all accounts and what I've read, this one kind of blows the custom out of the water. It sucks for people that bought the custom. I mean, I'm sure if you have a Microtech collection, it's certainly cool to have in your collection, but by all accounts, similarly to what I said with the SOCOM Bravo, it's almost like Reich took a design that Microtech came up with and was like, you know, kind of showing off with it. And we'll get into a few of the manufacturing, like the observations that I had, but they completely nailed it. This thing is off the charts. All right, so with that, I kind of wanted to get into some of like the machining or what stuck out to me from, you know, reviewing a bunch of knives over the last couple of months. First is going to be this integrated carbon fiber. It's definitely on par with the Sharp by design, just the monolithic nature of it, how, you know, it's not raised up, it fits in really smoothly. And that kind of leads me into my second observation was this, and I'll post a picture right here. I tried to capture it. There's actually this like wave milling on the side to get ergonomics right. But, you know, that wave milling was also done to the carbon fiber. So, I mean, they basically had to mill the titanium so that the carbon fiber could fit over it, and then they made the carbon fiber fit that like wave pattern to make it more comfortable in your hand, which I think is just, I mean, you wouldn't notice that unless you noticed it. And I think that attention to detail and just the quality in manufacturing and kind of the pride that they took in making this thing is kind of unseen for me up until this point. The next observation that I had was I'm kind of calling it two-tone jimping. So you have this like kind of further apart sawtooth jimping right here, and then as you get higher on the blade, there's this very shallow, intense jimping on the top of the blade. And you certainly, you know, on the lock bar, you get that same jimping, and then there's almost a little bit of bonus jimping right here to kind of help lock your finger in. I thought that was interesting. Like, you don't see that on many knives where they have that two-tone jimping, and you know, I'm assuming this was so when you're further choked up, you still have some sort of grip up there, but they didn't want to ruin the lines of the knife by having this like very jagged, intense jimping up here, because it definitely would, like, it would take away from, you know, that the blade and what it looks like. So kind of interesting. The next observation that I had was the blade stop, actually. And so if you look down, it's just kind of, it looks like a barrel spacer, but this blade stop here, like it almost kind of resembled, and, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, if you think it looks different, it almost looks like a wound spring or something like that. But again, it's just like extra machining. Like, certainly it would have been easier to, you know, they wouldn't have had to put this thing on a lathe, just make it smooth, whatever, but they took the time, for better or for worse, to even the blade stop. Like, they did machining on literally everything they could on this knife. The next observation that I had was just the the ratios on this knife. As I said before, the handle is definitely thinner, but I don't mind it, which I was very surprised, because like this blade is obviously like very, very wide, but it's not overly thick. I think the profile is extremely accurate. I love how it kind of comes, like if you look at it from this angle, it almost looks like it's a spear point, but it's just because the top here is actually domed. But you know, I did think that I would have a problem with the blade to handle ratio, but they really do make it work, and it's very nicely balanced. You know, maybe that's part of the fact that this is a solid piece, but again, this thing, you know, it only weighs 5 ounces and it's a 3.7-inch blade, so the ratios aren't horrible, and the center of gravity is right where you want it. I was actually just really surprised with the balance. I thought without having a thicker handle on here, I would hate it, but it definitely, it feels really lightweight and wieldy without, you know, feeling, yeah, cumbersome. Like I feel like having this blade on something, you'd expect it to be very heavy and kind of, you know, kind of like a brute, but this thing's pretty nimble and really quick, I think. The next observation that I had was just this blade, and I'll post a picture here while I'm talking, but I love this blade fuller and how, you know, it kind of keeps the stone wash of the blade, but then the actual outline of the fuller, they did like a satin finish on it, so it's just great contrast. Like if you can picture this blade without that fuller in there, realizing that as we saw with the SOCOM Bravo, like I mean that fuller is just gonna like pick up whatever you're stabbing or cutting into. But again, from a collector's, you know, pride of ownership standpoint, I really do love that contrast, and again, it just further punctuates the fact that Reich was showing off when they made this knife. All right, my next observation was the action, and I'm gonna try desperately to to do this well. Like, you know, obviously without that deep fuller, you wouldn't be able to traditionally flick this knife, and you know, pursuant to the manual that comes with this knife, they're actually wanting you to front flip this thing, and let's see if I can actually do it. I've been flipping this thing all day. Yep, see? Ah! Not gonna be able to get it. My hands are like sweaty, but all right, there we go. What I find though is like the jimping on here, like the area that you would front flip this is actually really jagged right here, and it's hard to get purchase to actually get it around and feel confident with it. So that was kind of one of my drawbacks with this knife, I would say, is like I wish it was a little bit more like subtle jimping, or they made, you know, some sort of relief here for front flipping it, because it is not the most comfortable knife to front flip, realizing the only front flipper I have right now is going to be that SBD Mini Tempest, which is, I mean, that thing is like, that's awesome. Like that thing is so smooth. So, you know, another one of my observations. So with that definitely concludes my overview of the Microtech Anax made by Reich Knife. I think it's another home run from Microtech and Reich Knives. It's sleek, futuristic looking, with a blade, internals, and materials to back it up. Like the pride of ownership is kind of unmatched here. Traditionally, I definitely like a more even ratio blade to handle, and you know, this is certainly a big knife with an oversized, kind of overstated air about it. I mean, you bust this thing out and it's like, whoa, what is that thing? You know, it's definitely not under the radar, but you know, I think they did a really great job. Like the blade isn't too thick. I don't know, guys, like I really do, like I love this knife. If it wasn't for kind of just the finicky front flipper action on this, I think this could be a huge hit. But you know, kind of to go along with that, I wouldn't like this knife with a flipper tab on it. I think it would be like very extra and just like too much stuff on this. I love flicking this thing using the fuller, but yeah, I don't know. I think like if you can get your hands on one of these, definitely do it. It is a beautiful knife. I'm so impressed. This is going to be, you know, obviously my second Microtech made by Reich. If they come out with another one, I'm gonna have to grab it. So appreciate y'all tuning in. Want to make a plug real quick. So Devin and I, we ended up starting just this week a new Facebook group, which is a buy sell trade for knives over $250. It's called Only Blades, a little bit of a play on OnlyFans. So yeah, some might think that's funny, some might not. But I'll link the yeah, I'll link it in the description down below. Would love to have you all, but appreciate you all tuning in. We'll see you next time.